Hello and welcome to this Thursday edition of the World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. Let's take a look at what's making headlines around the world. At least 8 people were injured in South Korea after a shell from an ongoing military exercise hit a civilian neighborhood in Pocheon near the border with North Korea. Fire officials said that 4 people were seriously hurt and several homes and a church were in fact damaged. South Korea and the United States were conducting joint live-fire drills nearby. Authorities believe the shell may have been fired accidentally by a fighter jet taking part in these exercises. Seoul's defense ministry, however, is yet to issue a formal statement on the incident. A Chinese PhD student was found guilty Wednesday in a London court of drugging and raping 10 women in England and China. As police warned, there could be more than 50, in fact, other victims. 28-year-old Zhenhao Zhu was convicted of the attacks between 2019 and 2023 following a month-long trial at the Inner London Crown Court. He was convicted of 11 counts of rape, with 2 of the offences relating to one victim. After more than 19 hours of deliberations, jurors concluded Zhu raped 3 of the women in London and 7 in China. Now, police have only been able to identify 2 of his victims and said after the verdict that more than 50 other women may have fallen victim to Zhu, which would make him one of the worst sex offenders in UK's history. Now, Zhu moved to Belfast, Northern England in 2017 to study mechanical engineering at the Queen's University before heading to UCL in 2019 for a master's degree and then a PhD. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and his UK counterpart, Foreign Secretary David Lammy, held wide-ranging talks in London on Wednesday, covering strategic coordination, trade negotiations, and next-generation technology. Now, the 2 sides are also exploring collaboration in key sectors, which include artificial intelligence, telecom, and critical minerals. Listen to Dr. S. Jaishankar on de-dollarization and the BRICS currency.
I don't think there's any policy on our part to replace the dollar. As I said, at the end of the day, the dollar as the reserve currency is the source of international economic stability. And right now, what we want in the world is more economic stability, not less. Now, obviously, there are, I would also say, in all honesty, I don't think there's a unified BRICS position on this. I think BRICS members, and now that we have more members, have very diverse positions on this matter.
Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump spoke over the phone Wednesday about the ongoing trade war, and their senior officials, in fact, have also been in constant contact throughout the day as both sides discuss a deal to temporarily lift all tariffs or possibly even renegotiate carve-outs for certain sectors. Canadian officials have described the situation as fluid, unpredictable, and rather chaotic. Now, this after US President Donald Trump's announcement of exemption on his proposed tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for US automakers. Now, there's a possibility further tariff exemptions could be announced at some point, but there are no firm guarantees. This is what officials have said. US President Donald Trump has announced a 1-month exemption, in fact, for automakers in Canada and Mexico from his new 25% tariffs, but only if they follow existing trade rules under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. Now, this temporary relief, in fact, comes after a phone call with Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, which Trump described as somewhat friendly. Auto stocks, meanwhile, rebounded sharply after the announcement, but broader trade tensions remain, with Canada and Mexico threatening retaliation.
We spoke with the big 3 auto dealers. We are going to give a 1-month exemption on any autos coming through USMCA. Reciprocal tariffs will still go into effect on April 2nd. But at the request of the companies associated with USMCA, the president is giving them an exemption for 1 month so they are not at an economic disadvantage. So the 3 companies that he spoke to are Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors. They requested the call, they made the ask, and the president is happy to do it. It's a 1-month exemption.
Authorities in northern Mexico on Wednesday found 32 kilograms of fentanyl hidden inside boxes of sliced cactus, a quintessential Mexican food staple known as nopales. Now, the Mexican law enforcement said they seized some 275,000 pills of the lethal drug in the border states of Sonora on its way to Arizona, and also that they arrested a 29-year-old suspect. The drugs were valued at about 6.5 million American dollars. Meanwhile, authorities found both pills and the drug in powder form. It's just the latest in a cat and mouse game between drug smugglers and authorities. This as traffickers find increasingly outlandish ways to sneak drugs into other countries. Now, packets of cocaine and fentanyl have been found tucked away in hair extensions and inside avocados, and even transported by a submarine. The head of Ukraine's presidential office, Yermak, and Trump's national security advisor, Waltz, held a phone conversation and discussed the location and date of negotiations with Russia. Earlier, United States paused intelligence sharing with Kyiv, impacting the flow of vital information that Ukraine uses to repel invading Russian forces. Meanwhile, CIA Director John Ratcliffe has confirmed, according to reports, the halt includes targeting data the US supplies to spy agencies in Kyiv so that they can launch American-provided weapons at Russian targets. The move follows President Donald Trump directing a pause on Monday to US assistance to Ukraine after a disastrous Oval Office meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky himself and his vice, J.D. Vance. European Union leaders are meeting in Brussels today to approve higher defense spending and show support for Ukraine after Donald Trump froze US military aid to Kiev. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is also attending the summit, but Hungary could in fact block a joint statement supporting Ukraine. Meanwhile, the EU fears it can no longer rely on US protection, especially after Trump's recent remarks. France even hinted at extending its nuclear shield to Europe. The EU Commission also proposed new plans, in fact, to mobilize up to 800 billion euros for defense, including borrowing up to 150 billion euros to help member states strengthen their militaries. The Dutch government has pledged $3.8 billion to support Ukraine in 2026. Prime Minister Dick Schoof confirmed. Now, this ensures that Dutch aid, in fact, will continue uninterrupted to Kyiv next year. The money can also be used in 2025 if necessary. The commitment follows a similar pledge by previous government for 2025. The Netherlands will also spend around $750 million from this fund to, in fact, supply drones to Ukraine as part of its broader military aid program to support Kyiv's defenses against Moscow's invasion. Donald Trump's pick to lead NIH, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, faced a tense Senate confirmation hearing today. Bhattacharya, a Stanford professor and vocal critic of pandemic lockdowns, pledged to restore public trust in science and focus on diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer. Republicans praised his stance against COVID restrictions. However, Democrats pressed him on Trump's NIH staff cuts and research pauses. Bhattacharya distanced himself from past firings but defended his call for open scientific debate. If confirmed, he'll oversee America's top biomedical research agency, now grappling, in fact, with funding cuts and internal turmoil under the Trump 2.0 administration. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs plans to cut more than 80,000 jobs under the directive from President Trump and his advisor Elon Musk. Now, the goal here is to roll back the VA workforce to 2019 levels or the pre-pandemic levels, part of a broader push to shrink federal agencies. Veterans groups and Democrats have condemned the move, calling it a betrayal that will in fact hurt healthcare and benefit for millions of veterans. The VA secretary defended the decision, saying that the government exists to serve, not to employ people. Some Republicans, meanwhile, also voiced concerns, urging the VA to work with Congress on responsible reforms. As layoffs loom, critics fear this is the first step towards privatizing veterans' care. US House Speaker Mike Johnson is predicting Republicans will be unified and able to pass a stopgap spending measure, also known as a continuing resolution or a CR. Now, this to fund the government in the months ahead to avert a government shutdown. Time is running short as a March 14 government funding deadline draws near. Listen into what he had to say.
I do, yeah. I think we'll have a big vote on the CR, and then we'll send it over to the Senate and hope they do the right thing. We don't want to shut the government down. That's in no one's best interest. So we were negotiating in good faith, trying to do separate appropriations bills, but the Democrats decided to put kind of ridiculous conditions on the last counter offers over the last couple of weeks. They wanted us to limit the authority of the executive branch, and we can't do that and wouldn't do that. I don't even think what they requested was constitutional. So they forced us into a CR situation.
President Donald Trump is preparing a new travel ban that could block entry for people from Afghanistan and Pakistan as early as next week. Now, sources say this is a part of Trump's plan to review countries with weak security checks. The move could affect thousands of Afghans awaiting resettlement in US under refugee and special immigrant visa programs. The ban may also include other nations, but till now, no final list has been announced. Trump's first-term travel ban, targeting Muslim-majority countries, was upheld by the US Supreme Court, in fact, in 2018. News from the Vatican. Pope Francis, who's been battling double pneumonia for weeks, remains stable. Yes, he remains stable and in fact has resumed limited work while still in Rome's Gemelli Hospital. The Vatican has said that the 88-year-old pontiff spent most of the day in an armchair and even made a call to a Catholic parish in Gaza. However, doctors say his condition is still serious. Francis suffered two major breathing crises earlier this week, and doctors have put him back on non-invasive ventilation overnight. Meanwhile, the Vatican has said that the Pope's prognosis remains guarded, meaning full recovery is not yet assured. It's time we slip into a short break. See you on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching the World Report on NDTV. According to reports, Tesla is finally entering the Indian market, signing a lease for its first showroom in Mumbai, the financial capital of the country. Now, this showroom, almost the size of a basketball court, will be in fact located in the upscale Bandra Kurla complex and will cost Tesla over $2.5 million in rent over 5 years. The move marks a revival of Tesla's India plans after they were scrapped last year. Reports suggest that Tesla is finalizing another showroom in New Delhi. Elon Musk, a close ally of President Donald Trump, has urged both Trump and PM Modi to cut these tariffs. Tesla will sell imported cars at first, but India's steep import duties remain a major hurdle still. US stocks ended higher after reports that Trump will delay auto tariffs on Canada and Mexico. The Dow rose 485 points, the S&P 500 gained 64 points, and speaking of the Nasdaq, well, it jumped 267 points. Earlier in the day, mixed economic data had made markets jittery, but the tariff delay provided much-needed relief to investors. Elon Musk has said that the US government should privatize the Postal Service and Amtrak, arguing that anything that can be run privately indeed should be. His comments come as Trump considers merging the Postal Service with the Commerce Department. The USPS has lost over $100 billion since 2007, though it posted a small profit last quarter. Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg told employees that the company needs to break down internal silos and encourage open communication across teams. Speaking at a company-wide meeting, Ortberg said Boeing's current culture is too insular. which holds back progress. The company lost nearly $12 billion in 2024 and even continues to face production issues with its 737 MAX, 787 and several other defense projects. Air New Zealand CEO Greg Foran will leave his office, in fact, will leave his role after 5 years as the airline struggles with supply chain problems and engine maintenance delays. Now, Foran, who just joined before the pandemic, guided the airline through multiple crises, including grounding planes due to part shortages. Air New Zealand also faces tough competition from Australian carrier Qantas and Virgin Australia. Logitech will repurchase $2 billion worth of shares over the next 3 years, adding another $600 million to its current buyback plan. Now, the company also expects 2026 sales to grow up 3% after forecasting 5.4% to 6.4% growth for 2025. The company aims for long-term annual sales growth of 7% to 10% and plans to expand into sectors like education and healthcare, of course, alongside its core market of gaming and computer accessories. Elon Musk's Starlink has applied for access to E-band spectrum in Italy to boost its satellite communication capacity. The request made 2 years ago is still pending as the country waits for the EU to set a common policy, in fact. Now, this move would help Starlink solidify its lead in the satellite internet market, where European competitors are lagging. The company has operated in Italy since 2021 and wants to strengthen its network of ground stations. YouTube has introduced a we just do this one again. Yeah. Vibe dekhe, just come back now. YouTube has introduced a new $7.99 monthly plan in the US that offers ad-free videos but excludes music. Now, this premium light tier targets users who already pay for separate music streaming services. It sits below YouTube's $13.99 premium plan, which includes ad-free music, and a $10.99 music-focused plan. The new tier is designed to compete more directly with Netflix and Disney Plus for video subscribers. Google has told Australian regulators it received more than 250 complaints globally between April 2023 and February 2024 about its AI being used to create deepfake terrorism content. Now, Google's AI tool Gemini was also flagged in dozens of cases involving child abuse material. This is part of Google's mandatory harm minimization reporting under Australian law. The eSafety Commission called this disclosure a world-first insight into how AI misuse is being tracked. Amazon Prime Video has rolled out AI-based dubbing for 12 licensed movies and series available in English and Spanish. This AI feature applies only to titles that lacked dubbing previously. With over 200 million global customers, Prime Video's move highlights, in fact, the growing use of AI to enhance viewer experiences. Meanwhile, Disney's ESPN is also exploring AI to personalize its content for younger viewers. El Salvador announced it has increased its strategic Bitcoin reserve to over 6,102 coins despite recent IMF concerns. Now, this comes after the IMF approved a $1.4 billion program for the country, which includes conditions limiting public sector Bitcoin purchases. El Salvador assured the IMF that these latest acquisitions align with those conditions as they were made by its Bitcoin office, not the broader government. FIFA has set the prize money for the 2025 Club World Cup at a staggering or a whopping $1 billion. The expanded 32-team tournament will take place in the United States between the 14th of June and the 13th of July. FIFA expects the event to generate around $2 billion in revenue, ensuring no funds will come from FIFA reserves. President Gianni Infantino says some of these earnings will in fact be reinvested into global club football development. Now, this move marks the highest ever prize pool for the competition, reflecting, in fact, on FIFA's push to expand its club tournaments. Golf legend Tiger Woods says his heart isn't in practicing right now, citing the recent death of his mother and his work on the PGA Tour Policy Board. Speaking at a TGL event, Woods revealed he's barely touched a golf club since his loss. Now, this raises doubts or casts shadows, in fact, about his participation in the Players' Championship next week and even his readiness for the Masters. Woods last played an official tournament in July 2024, missing the cut at the British Open. He has until Friday to decide if he'll enter the Players or not. American Olympians and Paralympians are set to receive a financial safety net thanks to a record-breaking $100 million donation from philanthropist Ross Stevens. Now, this fund will provide eligible athletes up to $200,000 after retirement, recognizing the sacrifices they made to compete for Team USA. The US Olympic and Paralympic Committee says this is the largest single donation in its history. Currently, most Team USA athletes live paycheck to paycheck, with 26% earning less than $15,000 a year. Stephen hopes this funding will in fact secure their futures beyond the Games as well. Well, that's all we have for you today. Take care and have a wonderful day.